Good afternoon again. This is Dr. Bill White with the American Orthodontic Society, and we're on a subject of these ectopically erupting 6-year molars and how you dealt with them. Well, we, of course, back before we got good bonding material, we still had to deal with ectopically erupting 6-year molars, and so I had to come up with a kind of a removable appliance that you could use, and then you had a bonding agent. The only bonding material we had was you etched the tooth, and then you dissolved acrylic powder in liquid and put it on the tooth, and it would bond to the tooth. So for, normal bonding stuff, but no good bonding agent. So we did this case. We started back in 1956, I believe, was when we started doing this. And she had 2 6-year molars, the upper 6-year molars that came in, and they were ectopically erupting into the backs of the upper deciduous second molars. And we had to see if we could get those out from under there. So we did that with these bondable springs that we came up with to help remove those, help bring us on in. Here's a neat little girl. And she has several orthodontic problems in addition to that, but what we're going to be concerned with here is the ectopically erupting 6-year molar. Though you don't see it here, this goes up in kind of like, and then the roots on it, somewhere up in there. But it was eating the root structure away. It'd go in front of it and eat the root structure on this second deciduous molar back here. And if you didn't do something, it would just continue to eat it over here, and finally you'd lose the tooth, kind of like we showed you in that one deal. But we had no bonding agent to hook up the tooth like this. So we came up with the idea of putting a wire in the center of the tooth and coming out over in this area somewhere or another and coming in and making a deal like that. And then we would pull this on up and put a spring in it. Then I had to make an appliance that fit in the mouth, something like that. And so the young lady would have to take this appliance and put it in and get everything going, then take this wire and carry it down and hook it on this part of the arch wire right here that was in the retainer. And that would allow this to put pressure on that, and that would tend to squeeze this. As I push this down, it would tend to go in this direction, and it would back this tooth out from where it was coming in underneath the root structure on the deciduous second molar. All right, let me go back here just a second and erase that. And it's almost exactly the same thing over on this side, except this tooth will be up in here somewhere. Let's see. And we had to fix this spring. We'd lay it down in the center and bring it around here, and then put the deal in it, and it would go out over on this side, we put a hook on it, and then we'd have a retainer with this, and you'd bring it down, hook it. So the patient had to hook this thing up every time. But this young lady cooperated with us and did this, and it worked on her. So let's get in and show you the appliances. This the way her teeth are. Now, excuse me. This is the 6-year molar. It's ectopically erupting, and it goes back in somewhere like this. And the roots stuff. And so it's eating the root structure of this tooth away in here. So we wanted to take this tooth that was headed in that direction. You see, now this is the lower second molar, a 6-year molar, and this one's gone anyway. But that one is the one that's eating this root away that we're interested in. And we had to bond that to that tooth. So the same thing over here, this molar was sitting in here somewhere and eating the root of this away. All right. Here the appliance is now. We just took an impression of the deal and built a wire that went around like this and came in. And this uses an 036 wire. And went under and we welded it to an 028. Now you wouldn't have to do all this nowadays. In other words, we just bond this thing onto we wouldn't even need all of this. All we'd have to have today is just a tube that would fit on the side of this tooth. Maybe take some of the tissue off down in like that, and then come out and bend this little deal like this. And get over here, we come up. Now we go down and hook that hook. This wire would come up something like this, and we'd hook this over like that. All right. The only thing we had to bond with was acrylic. And so we clean this tooth off. This is a permanent 6-year molar. Clean it real good. And then we would etch this whole tooth all down in here. And I put some acrylic liquid down in this. Just touch it with that and then touch it with powder. And then I take this spring and just set it on top of that. And the spring was actually buried up in the acrylic around that tooth. And then we would take this, pull it down and hook it over this. And now that would be bowed like that. And that would be tending to take this whole thing and pick that up and move it backwards. And it did. And it moved that there open, and this slid that back. And then this hook would slide back this direction. And we'll show you these teeth in a minute where they had actually moved back and gotten out of the way. You had to depend on the patient, to take care of the appliance. And then also, when you'd undo this, she'd have to undo this, and this would stick up here, and you kind of poke them in the gum. But you put the appliance in, and then you reach back, got this, and carried it up, and hooked it over that, and that pressure would straighten this tooth out right in here. Now, that worked, and we were able to handle situations with ectopic eruption in them. So here we bonded acrylic on this, bonded that wire in the center of that tooth, and it came around the side. And now we've got the spring over here. We'll hook it up on the side like that. Now here is the ectopically erupting 6-year molar, and it's actually the cells go in front of this, so it's eating the cells in this deciduous tooth out, and if you leave this alone, this is going to go, and that would go right there. So they eat quite a ways in front of them. Now we look at the other side. Then we pull that thing up and hook it on the arch wire right here coming out. And you reach up there and pull that down and hook it over here. Now that spring wants to prise this up, so it's pushing this back in that direction, pulling it out from under this deciduous molar. Same thing over here. This bond held tight enough where we could do that. Now this is something we had to come up with something that we could use, and you do something like this. Now there's the bolt hooked up on that again, and you can see this tooth sitting way up here. Now I'm going to show it 2-3 months later where we came in, and that spring has pushed that tooth down and got it, and here it is lined up with this other tooth right in here now. And here's this side. It's got to bring that one down some more. Alright, here's the best picture I've got of it. This portion of this tooth, which was up in this area, now is down here. In other words, it's fitting right behind that. And this would give us a space maintainer in that part. And this is things we had to come up with innovation to where we could do these various things with it. Now this other one, it's down here too, and it's coming in good. So we took care of the 2 ectopic erupting teeth, and this was about 50 some odd years ago when we did this. We had to do that. We didn't have the bonding material that we have today. That's the 2 teeth. And there that tooth is that was up here, and now is the edge of it is right down here with this other.